In today's video, we're going to be talking about the overall hurricane season. We're going to be just going over an update on the sea surface temperatures as well as conditions around the Atlantic. Today is actually September 2nd, the time I'm making this video. I'm speaking from the past. And in the past, we have Tropical Storm Danielle that has formed. We have two disturbances in the Atlantic. And that middle one there that you see with a red X is a big old question mark as to if it's going to possibly bring impacts to the United States or if it'll go out to sea. Hopefully, by the time this video is getting updated or uploaded, you will actually be you'll basically know what's happening with this one. And I don't right now. So it's a pretty interesting perspective. So, yeah, pretty interesting. I'm very curious what's going to happen with that one. Now, we're taking a look at the sea surface temperatures around the globe. We can see a couple of interesting things. First off, a glaring La Nina there in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, south of Hawaii. I want you to see that blue area. You see that very, very long blue area there nearby South America as well. That is our La Nina, which is the opposite of an El Nino. This usually encourages tropical activity when we have these La Nina conditions. Obviously, so far in the hurricane season this year, that has not really played a factor because it has been one of the quietest hurricane seasons in history so far. Now, as we draw our attention, or actually, you know what, let's just zoom in. Let's zoom into the Atlantic Ocean real quickly, and as you can see, things are, for the most part, much, much warmer than what is typical in most areas, especially there in the very far northern regions, offshore of the Mid-Atlantic, the United States, and even offshore of Canada and south of Greenland there. We see deep burgundy reds indicating far above normal sea surface temperatures. The further south you go, the colder it's actually getting here, more near normal conditions, even some below normal conditions there offshore of Africa. Obviously, we know most tropical systems form, first off, in this region, offshore of Africa. That's called our main development region, and that's usually where these storms start out. So seeing things below normal here could be playing a factor in really why we're not seeing as many storms start out in our main development region so far, and why they're having trouble from the start. Below normal temperatures in those areas could be playing a pretty big factor in that. Now, we can see that the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico is above normal sea surface temperatures, so if we start to get storms moving through this region, they should have an easier time than normal developing as far as sea surface temperatures go. There is other factors as well, obviously. Now, here's another perspective. This is kind of our sea surface temperatures 7-day change. So what this means is that this is how things have changed over the past 7 days. It looks absolutely crazy right now. It's hard to even differentiate anything. There's blues, there's yellows, there's oranges, there's reds, there's things going on all over the place. Let's just zoom into the Atlantic where we could get a bit of a clearer picture. Now, as you can see, there is plenty of above normal temperatures that have increased over the past 7 days here for areas offshore of the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast, areas there in coastal Canada. So we can see that the areas that are warm have actually even warmed further over the past 7 days. And equally to the south, the colder areas, again, in that main development region, areas offshore of Africa into the Caribbean, all of these areas have gone ahead and cooled down over the past 7 days as well. So these two areas are getting even further extreme away from one another, even far into the Caribbean, the Bahamas, offshore Florida as well. There, we're seeing these waters cooling off over the past 7 days, which should help to limit some tropical activity, although things have already been very, very limited. Now, here we are taking a look at a few charts. This is going to be basically different areas in the oceans. And this one in particular is our Nino 3.4 index, which is exactly what they use to measure El Nino or La Nina. So we can see there's a bar in the middle, that 0.0 line, and we have been below that for the past, however long this is, I think 3 months or so. And we can see that we are even heading colder and colder and colder as we're now at September 1st, as you can see. So we're seeing things cool off, cool off, cool off, and they've cooled significantly even since the beginning of August. So we've seen a lot of cooling in this area. Now, here is a model prediction of where things are headed. We can see that things might get cooler before they get warmer. Here, the letters at the bottom stand for different months. So we see, for instance, SON is September, October, November, which is kind of our next period coming up soon. We can see that's a little bit below where we're at now on most of these models. So we can see things are expected to cool slightly or maintain throughout the rest of the hurricane season, eventually warming as we approach next this upcoming winter into next spring. Now, this next graph we're taking a look at here is our North Atlantic sea surface temperature anomaly, and you can see that this has just skyrocketed. From June all the way through late July, we saw things very neutral, close to that darker black line, as you can see, but things have dramatically warmed since that point, and we're about a degree above normal, and that's in Celsius since that point, very, very far above normal. Here's our Atlantic MDR sea surface temperature anomaly, and this is for that area in between Africa and the Caribbean, again, where most tropical storms begin. We can see that this has been very, very up and down, but we've seen it really climb over the past month, and now the past few days this has cooled off significantly. So we've seen this really, really drop, and we're almost down halfway to neutral from the peak. So it's going to be interesting to see what direction this heads in. Could be very, very crucial for the upcoming hurricane season, or ongoing one. It just hasn't even really gotten going yet. We can see the Caribbean sea surface temperatures here have done very similar to the Atlantic MDR. They've climbed, and then dropped off about halfway over the past few days. Here's the Gulf of Mexico, and the peak was actually in July. We've seen things cool down to mid-August, where they almost dropped below neutral, and now we've climbed up to about half a degree above normal now. So things have warmed up a bit, but they were looking cooler, much cooler actually, for a little bit there. Very, very interesting stuff here. Now, another factor that is definitely worth talking about is the dust. Outside of temperatures, this is another factor that plays a huge, huge role in our Atlantic hurricane season. Currently, as we're taking a look here, we could see that these areas here, south of the Caribbean for the most part, and in the Gulf of Mexico, we do have some of those blues and pinks showing up. And that's going to indicate areas that do have dust. Usually this is pretty far west for this time of year, and that's played a factor in why we've seen not a lot of hurricane development and tropical development overall over the past few months in the beginning half of hurricane season. There's plenty around Africa, but that's a little bit more typical. As we move about halfway through this, a few days from now, we can see that things are going to start to clear up here near the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, the Bahamas. These areas are going to start to clear up, and this could pave the way for a tropical system sometime within the next 7 days or so, which could be worth noting, like I mentioned before. Now, we see things even clear up even further. The interesting thing is that we will have this area, our MDR for short, or main development region, offshore of Africa. This will have a plentiful amount of dust in the atmosphere that could hinder those storms coming off of Africa, but they could redevelop after exiting that area, especially near the Gulf of Mexico. The Caribbean and offshore of the East Coast is going to be a lot more favorable as far as this dust is concerned. Definitely going to play a big, big factor moving forward. Now, anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like it if you did, leave a comment down below with your thoughts, and subscribe for more weather-related content. I'll see you guys in the next video.